It was nearly 7 years ago on Halloween when I woke up at the crack of dawn to download an ominous survey program from developer Toby Fox. It turned out that this program contained not just a simple survey, but the start of a grand adventure that I haven't been able to stop thinking about since. Now, with the release of the 3rd and 4th chapters, that adventure has truly started to take a more solid shape. Deltarune carries on the spirit of its predecessor Undertale by subverting expectations of the RPG genre in the wildest ways. It also shares the same sort of clever, heartfelt, and often absurdly hilarious writing, not to mention a truly unforgettable soundtrack. Don't be fooled by its deceptively humble pixel art and initially simple plot. There's a surprising amount of intrigue, beauty, and unpredictability just under the surface. The unsettling questions Deltarune raises about our relationship to the characters we control in games provides an engrossing layer of meta commentary, while still celebrating the indomitable willpower and heart of extraordinary RPG heroes. After 2 chapters worth of free demos, 2 more have arrived just last week as part of its more traditional paid, full release, although that's not to say it's finished now, as more chapters are planned to arrive as free content updates in the future. But whether you are picking up where you left off years ago, or starting fresh from the first chapter, you'll be unceremoniously thrust into the body of a weird teen named Chris. There are a lot of similarities to Undertale here, but also more than enough differences in its setting and how battles work to set it apart. Where Undertale had you explore an underground society of imprisoned monsters you either had to fight or befriend, Deltarune begins in a pleasant but unremarkable hometown, though for some reason you're still the only human around in a world of monsters. The only epic struggles to be found here are trying to stay awake through class, or dodging the extreme embarrassment of seeing your divorced adoptive monster parents run into each other at the store. Instead, things kick off when Chris and a rude, crude monster classmate named Susie find themselves transported into a world of fantasy straight out of an 80s adventure movie. Here, pencils and band-aids transform into swords and armor, while forgotten classroom toys or computer lab accessories spring to life as darkeners, many of which will stand in your way. It's a great touch how even the menus and UI change to reflect this new realm. The environments that you'll find yourself exploring in these dark worlds are anything but. They're filled with vibrant and beautiful pixel art backdrops that work in harmony with the stunning soundtrack to capture the themes of these fascinating places. It's not long after arrival in the Dark World that you meet your 3rd party member, a lonely, dark-haired prince named Rousey, who seems to know all about you, and gives you the grand spiel about cleansing dark fountains and saving the world from destruction. You know, hero stuff. To get to your goal, you have to fight your way through enemies, frenemies, misunderstood goofballs, pretty much everything you can think of. Like Undertale, you'll learn that the path to victory can be forged with turn-based violence or pacifism, but the long-term consequences aren't as clear-cut here. Truly, the best part of battles is the ability to act on your turn, winning over an opponent with enough mercy to spare them, in between dodging an ever-expanding variety of deadly bullet patterns on the enemy's turn. On paper, this system could easily lose its charm, but here it's kept entertaining by exceptionally witty and context-sensitive execution. Each foe has different needs that get more complex, and often wacky, the further you delve into these adventures. Things may start with you commanding a party member to flirt their way towards mercy, but it wasn't too much later that I found myself choosing between trying to expertly dodge ambulance-shaped bullets, or get hit on purpose for bonus mercy. It's moments like these where Deltarune's creative juices are at their tastiest, combining fun, contextual commands that blend limitless humor while leaning into the personalities of both your team and the darkeners you'll face. Each new encounter left me eager to see what my fun squad could come up with. With a mix of plentiful enemy variety and dark world areas that never stretched on too long, I never really found myself getting tired of the opponents I came up against. Even when I wasn't fighting, there was a lot to explore both in and out of the dark worlds I visited. Being able to wander around and talk to people and interact with objects isn't exactly a new RPG idea, but what I believe sets Deltarune apart is the confidence it has in making its world worth stopping in to smell the roses. Or, you know, a container of ICE's Cool Boys body spray, spray for the boys, flamin' hot pizza flavor. Deltarune's hilariously illogical humor oozes into every corner of the world like some sort of weird goop that's actually kind of delicious and also addictive for some reason. It's so intrinsically linked with everything else, combat, dialogue, story, puzzles, you name it, that I couldn't imagine this adventure being any other way. Seriously, in what other setting would you encounter a weird little dolphin enemy that's a reference to an obscure 14-year-old meme about a virus-filled desktop icon? It's not just the jokes either. I found myself constantly intrigued by the world being set up around this adventure. There's a level of reward for inspecting what would otherwise be mundane. It's a type of detail that doesn't seem all that impressive at a first glance, and yet I've come to appreciate immensely during my time with each of the 4 currently available chapters. In this way, Deltarune is also rife with small, personal moments and anecdotes that allow its characters to shine in a way I rarely see anywhere else. Each place you visit is accompanied by an embarrassment of phenomenal music, and as with Undertale, the payoff of Fox personally composing the music, in addition to developing so many aspects of Deltarune, is clear to see. Every new area you visit is a treat for the ears, and there's a wonderful mix of chiptunes in all sorts of genres, and each boss encounter theme somehow surpasses the last with no signs of slowing down. You can't listen to this and not be in awe of how something so unhinged works so well. It's not just that the music is great, but its decisive inclusions elevate the material with careful use of leitmotifs to tie certain events and characters together. It's hard to pick which characters to talk about in a cast that's so colorful. So many of Deltarune's cast members are actually very, very dumb in an extremely endearing way, I promise, and incredibly distinct in ways too numerous to count. Many times, it almost felt like a royal rumble of competing scene stealers, with new challengers arriving all the time. I'd always get a sinking feeling that there would be no way a new chapter could top the previous one's antics, and yet, each time I was proven wrong in ways I literally could not have expected from both new and returning faces. But I can't not talk about the true stars of the show, Chris and Susie, one of my favorite teams I've ever had the pleasure of commanding in turn-based battles. They both go through some very different personal journeys over the course of each chapter, and though we still don't fully know where they lead, they continue to fascinate me. Chris, Susie, and yes, even Rousey are each loners and outcasts in their own ways, and seeing them form a bond powerful enough to shake the pillars of heaven has been immensely satisfying. There was a point early on where I was worried that Susie's own character growth would sputter out too soon after calming down on the more extreme ends of her bullying tough girl act, which is expertly woven into Deltarune's mechanics to manifest in clever ways, both in and out of combat. Instead, I found a wild card. She's as much the main protagonist of this story as Chris is, sometimes perhaps even more. Susie continually forges her own path when it suits her, leading to surprising revelations and tweaks on how Deltarune itself plays, and yet for all her bark, she makes a wonderfully vocal stand-in for us, going from annoyed disinterest to full-throated enthusiasm as she embraces her role in the story and her newfound friends. Her relationship with her classmate Chris is also something I never get tired of. It encapsulates some of the funniest, most heartwarming, and most sincere parts of Deltarune's story so far. I can't count the number of times that I inspected an object and was presented with the option to do something profoundly stupid, only to have Susie right there beside me, excitedly goading me on. They are truly a dumbass duo with joint custody of a single brain cell, and the enthusiasm that they share for the absurd is inescapably contagious. Chris on their own is also a fascinating enigma, and explaining why will require a light amount of spoilers from the first 2 chapters. I hope you'll forgive me on this, but it's also one of the central parts of Deltarune's themes and how you play it. You see, in Deltarune, you do not play as Chris, you control Chris. You, the player, are a diegetic force in this world, meaning your presence is a tangible entity. You're a red, heart-shaped object referred to as a soul, often seen when selecting options or dodging attacks. However, it's soon revealed that you are something of an unwanted guest in Chris's body, and they may have their own motives and goals that don't always align with your own. As both a game mechanic and a story idea, it's an incredibly wild and unique take on the RPG genre and how this possession manifests itself, and further solidifies how Deltarune isn't just inspired by the games that came before it, but also eager to break new ground. As the story unfolds, how can you know if what you're doing is what Chris wants to do? Or do you even care? It also puts an entirely new layer on the meaning of how the character we control reacts to things, and what information we can glean from that, and the themes of freedom and control will continually vie for your attention as you uncover Deltarune's secrets. There's a subtle yet masterful way that Deltarune drops the tiniest of hints that while we may control much of Chris, they can still find ways to inject their personality into the world despite us. I don't want to say more about how your role continues to escalate in later chapters, nor do I wish to spoil much of the contents of chapters 3 and 4. What I will say is that Chapter 3 felt like a demented roller coaster ride that somehow seamlessly inserted an entirely new way to play that was an absolute blast. Chapter 4 continued to step on the gas pedal, but not in the ways I was expecting. It was more like riding that aforementioned roller coaster into the gaping maw of a dread-inducing abyss. It does have a few slower parts, especially navigating some of the more maze-like areas that seem to lack the usual unlockable shortcuts until the very end. However, nothing prepared me for the harrowing end of Chapter 4. The story remains unfinished, yes, but in no way did I feel let down by it ending where it does for now. having surmounted some incredible odds and went to some jaw-dropping moments to get as far as I have. Toby Fox and his team have really accomplished something incredible at Deltarune in its new chapters, even if that accomplishment isn't quite finished just yet. The fact that what appears to be a halfway point in the story can leave off with such a phenomenal and high-stakes note after roughly 20 hours still has me reeling knowing I've yet to see the true depths of where this adventure will lead. Though I have my own share of theories, I'm highly confident that no matter what Deltarune's true ending holds in store, its incredible and well-refined culmination of captivating characters, hilarious and earnest writing, and stellar music has already left one hell of a lasting impact that I am not likely to forget.